Hi everybody, welcome to Live with Chaudhry here in Minneapolis at ASMS 2022. I'm delighted to be joined by Shane Needham actually, who you may know from LinkedIn because he's done a podcast on there, he does loads of posts, he's a serial entrepreneur and he's also a scientist, and he's been coming to ASMS for quite a while now. And he actually messaged me prior to the event and said, "Hey Rizwan, I'm going to be coming, do you fancy a chat?" And I thought, well hey, why not? Let's talk to Shane and find out a bit more about his views on ASMS as a visitor and also his thoughts on the industry as well. So Shane, first of all, it's lovely to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have to say you're looking very slick actually with your hanky. I almost would think you're British the way you're looking.
I did learn how to tie this or how to fold this in London actually.
So you're looking very good. So Shane, first of all though, as I said, you are a serial entrepreneur, you do lots of stuff. So for viewers who are not familiar with you, just give me a very quick top line overview, if you don't mind, of your own background.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, first of all, I'm an entrepreneur. Some of the things that I'm painted with, as far as painted with a brush. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a scientist. I've started many different businesses. My latest business venture is an LCMS MS CRO, where we focus on serving our biotech and our pharmaceutical partners. And so that's what I do. But I also have a consulting business. I'm also, very important to me, I'm also a father, a coach, an executive, a bodybuilder, a power lifter, so many other things, not just my work environment. So I'm very, very proud of all those accomplishments.
Yeah, well, actually, if you follow Shane on LinkedIn, you'll know all of that as well, because he covers all those different topics in his posts as well. And I have to say, yeah, you're one of the fittest guys I see in pharma. Although I have to say, there's another guy here on another company who would give you run for your money.
That's awesome. I'd love to meet that person.
Anyway, look, let's move on now. So, as I said, you're here as a visitor to ASMS. So, from your perspective, coming to the show, obviously, it's the first sort of big live event they've had since I think 2019.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the last event in Atlanta. What's your impressions of ASMS coming as a visitor today?
Oh, first of all, just very energetic. I'm very happy to be here, very grateful to be even on your show. But I think this is my 28th ASMS, if I calculate that correctly. And just being back, and I think I had 8 connections this morning, all the way from breakfast to coffees to lunches, and I have dinners tonight with different people, and then I run into people in the halls that I haven't seen for 3 years. It has just been absolutely amazing. I've run into some of the heavy hitters in the industry, some of colleagues and friends that I haven't seen for several years. It has been absolutely amazing just to connect with the people post-pandemic.
Right. Well, I would agree 100% with you there actually, because there's so many people who I'm connected with and I haven't seen a long time as well. Now, one question I'm going to ask you then is, given that you've been at so many ASMSs over the years, how have you seen the event change from your very first ASMS to now?
Yeah, so let's talk about, first of all, what hasn't changed, and that's the people. It's a great place to connect, not only just for your friendly type relationships, but also for your business type relationships. And I just learn so much every time I come here. What's changed? Obviously, there was none of this that we're doing right now. There was no LinkedIn, there was no Twitter, there was no social media back when I first started coming to ASMS in 1994 or whatever that was, that first time at ASMS. And so the digital transformation has really changed our industry and how we deliver as well. And so it's not even how we hand out our posters, how we scan in our posters, how we submit our posters. Everything with the digital transformation has made this meeting only better to connect with people.
Right, and from your perspective, as I said, you've worked in this sector for a long, long time and had different businesses in here. How have you seen, from your personal experience, the industry change since the pandemic? Because obviously, historically, pharma, very conservative, as an industry in terms of their outlook and how they did things. The pandemic has forced them to change in many ways. Also, ASMS, it's interesting, I've not been nowhere near as long as you have come to ASMS, but I have been to a few, and I remember each time, 2018 I think was the year of the triple quad, 2019 was the year of biopharma, this year actually everyone's talking about proteomics and new therapies and so on. You can see a theme running through. So how have you seen the market and the industry change since the pandemic?
Yeah, so I would definitely say there's been a big change and a big focus on things like, for example, today I had a poster on oligonucleotides and how to biologically quantify those in, for example, rat plasma. And so we were just showing how LCMS-MS can be a great tool to actually quantify those oligonucleotides in rat plasma. And so that was not as popular pre-pandemic. And so we're seeing lots of cell and gene therapies that are based upon RNA or based upon nucleic acids, oligonucleotides, so on and so forth, that obviously some of the COVID vaccines and the RNA that we're all kind of familiar with at a very high level post-pandemic, that wasn't as popular before. Now everybody's really dabbling in that space. And what's exciting about us is we get to dabble in those methods, to develop new methods for those new antisense oligonucleotides or new MERS or whatever they are, but those oligonucleotides. And that's really exciting because before the pandemic, there was more risk, I think, that people didn't want to take, pharma and biotech partners. Now that they've seen some successes in that area and the public's used to them, investors are used to them and accustomed to those, they're willing to take more of those risks. And I think they see that oligonucleotides, RNA, so on and so forth, will be some of those therapies moving forward.
Right, and you mentioned investors and other people. So again, do you think the mindset in the industry has changed dramatically then since the pandemic in terms of how they approach working with each other and also launching new things?
Yes, those are very good questions. How has it changed post-pandemic, launching into new things? I kind of talked about that already. I think they're less risk averse, that they're willing to take some more risk and know that there might be some reward. That's what entrepreneurship is all about, right? And especially bringing new therapeutics to market. So small to large pharma, they're all dabbling in these types of oligonucleotides at this point. How has it changed as far as people working together? This is huge. I can't explain this and put my finger on it, but we have, for example, some EU partners and some other partners that we're collaborating with it just wasn't as popular pre-pandemic. And so a lot more people, I'm even knowing of some pharma companies that are kind of working together. Academia is now part of the solution. And so we're all collaborating and knowing that working together is going to get us better therapeutics to treat disease. And that's what's really exciting to me, is just those collaborations and making new networks.
Cool. One last question for you is, what do you see the future for pharma? It's a very big question. I don't expect you to sort of answer it like everything, but from your perspective looking ahead, and as I said, you're an entrepreneur, you start a new business and so on, how do you see pharma developing going forward?
Yeah, I do see that the cell and gene therapy space is going to be really, really big. I mean, and we've seen that with COVID vaccines and just modifying genes and modifying DNA, right? And so I think that space is going to be huge, and it's so untapped at this point. There's so much we don't know how to do, how to deliver, how to target, all those things are how to quantify all those in a biological fluid. And that's, for example, some of my expertise where that comes in. But it's just very, very, I think that space is really ripe for the taking. People have been talking about this. I remember when I was at Pfizer, people talked about this almost 30 years ago. But nobody could really dream it, and they just couldn't understand it. The genome hadn't been, actually sequenced at that point, so nobody could really see that that's happening. What's happening now, 30 years later? These things don't happen overnight, but I think that's just going to continue.
And I know that was the last question, but actually you just brought up an interesting point, actually. And it popped into my head. I spoke to someone just after the first year of the pandemic, looking ahead, and they said to me, one thing they're a bit nervous about was that obviously because of COVID there was a huge level of government funding within pharma to find obviously a cure and a vaccine. Obviously, thankfully, and all being well, the pandemic is easing off now, and even though you have other scares, there's not so much of a risk out there now, certainly not from perception. So do you think the money will still be there? Because obviously you had the government funding at that point and huge investment at that point for the industry. Do you think that level of investment will still be there, and if so, where will it come from?
I do. I mean, I actually see that the money will still be there because investors customers want this, patients want this, so investors want this. So I don't exactly know where that it could be private equity, it could be investment bankers, it could be the public from IPOs, whatever it is. But I think the actual consumers are going to demand these types of therapies moving forward. It is the way of the future, is cell and gene type therapy.
Fantastic. So, excuse me viewers, my throat's gone dry. And the beauties of doing live interviews. I just take a swig of water. So, Shane, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. So, if people want to know more about what you do, where can they get more information?
Well, a couple of things. Certainly find me on LinkedIn, at Shane Needham. You can find our lab on LinkedIn as well, Veloxity Labs. You can also go to our website, veloxitylabs.com. But find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on the other social medias, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. And so find me there, and I'd love to connect with you and partner with you.
Well, Shane, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you for getting in touch with me prior to set this up. I'm delighted to meet you in person, and it's been great talking to you. So, viewers, before my voice goes completely, I've been talking too much obviously today, have a safe journey home.
Excellent.
And I'll hopefully catch up with you soon.
All right.
In person. So, viewers, thank you very much. Until next time, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.